We're aiming to have off and on to the rest of the evening by 8 o'clock. So let's get going. Hopefully everyone who's willing or wanting to join is able to get in and they catch up. So welcome to our second session of Building Wealth, Generational Wealth through Real Estate. Tonight we're going to be talking about income, capital, and credit. Andrea, did you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Well, what I thought would be neat, last week we took the time to just say, hey, check in, where are you coming from? Locally, for the most part, we saw people were local here. I'm in the Brampton area. Maybe you can just type in the chat what city you are joining us from. And then, yes, absolutely, I'll get started. If you are joining us tonight and you weren't here last week, we highly recommend that you get a notepad or book and pen and jot down and take down as much of the tips and strategies and information that we share. It's always good. The best way to remember and the best way to learn is to make notes. We will have some giveaways later, so if you pay close attention, we might quiz you at the end, and if you're on it, you can win a prize or two. Actually, each person can win one prize. We like to make sure that not the same person wins each time. And I'm Andrea, and my business partner Kemba. We're both Williams by marriage. We're not actual sisters. We're sisters-in-law. And so I've been doing real estate investing for some time. Kemba and I, as we met up in our family unit there, our husbands are brothers. We discovered that we both loved real estate, and so we have, continued to pursue investing and building wealth through real estate as a family. So first, I started with my own family, and then I joined forces with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. So I've got 3 girls. And so that's my why, my children, my husband, our family. That's why we work really hard to build wealth through real estate, because I want to make sure I can have something for myself and my husband today, but also to pass on to the next generation, not just the assets, but hopefully the knowledge. So many times my girls do attend the events and also participate in learning. And Kemba, maybe you can share some stuff about yourself as well.
Yeah, I am also a mom of 3, 2 of my own, and 2 through marriage, 1 through marriage. I have a career in banking that I left a couple of years ago to start investing in real estate and doing this full time. So it was quite an amazing and interesting career, but I think this has captured me even more. And I've been doing this part-time since 2007, and not even realizing at the time that's what I was doing. But, as I grew and I learned more, I realized, hey, I'm a real estate investor. I have a little boy, Carver and Zoe, and our older girl is Ella. And what do I do for fun? I read, hang out. Right now, there's not a lot of outdoor stuff to do, but like going for walks and so on, and just hanging out with the family. That's what we do a lot of, hanging out with the family. That's a little bit about me.
So I was just checking the chat, and it's interesting. Most of us are local as far as Stony Creek, and I saw Jada put in there Binbrook, which I'm assuming is somewhere familiar, Jada, Hamilton area. And of course, across to North York, Mississauga, and sort of Scarborough. But also, I see someone saying, hi, I'm from New Mexico. And so that's kind of cool. Thank
Edmonton.
you for joining
we have
us,
Edmonton. We have Edmonton as well.
And Edmonton as well. You are right. There's Antonio. Awesome. So thank you all for joining us. We really are very excited about this is our second annual, and this is our second session. So we hope to motivate many of you and inspire you to do something in real estate, if first, at least beginning to own your own, but then also to build on that and own for legacy and wealth building. While we're doing introductions, what are your takes on real estate or mortgage agents as a career path? Well, we love you because you are great supporters of our business. Without real estate and or mortgage agents, we cannot and we will not be successful in this. So we love partnering with great realtors and mortgage agents. So we think it's an excellent career choice, naturally. So as Kemba said, she's been doing this for some time, and so have I. Myself and my husband has been doing it a lot longer. I built Keene Real Estate with Kemba, but started with my husband, PW Wealth, and so we've got a couple businesses all within real estate. And so naturally from that came these services that Kemba and I have been doing for years for ourselves in our own real estate holdings and transactions. And so we've been doing rentals, both long and short term. We've been, helping owners like us. We're land, so we've been helping landlords also tenant their properties, and we've continued that beyond, those services, because we realize a lot of our community and a lot of women and a lot of people in general just don't have the knowledge and education. So then we built into our company that education piece. Hence what you're getting tonight. And we've tried to keep that affordable or free in many cases, so that you don't have to be, held back to when it costs. Sometimes maybe it's not as easy to get the information, but here we make sure that we provide repeatedly throughout the course of the year education to individuals. And of course, we've got coaching where we help you get from one-on-one, we help you get from where you are now to where you want to be. We do that education as well through podcasts. So sometimes we amazing entrepreneurs and or individuals who are investing in real estate and share their stories. We also offer consulting, and like someone already, what do we think of mortgage and real estate agents? We think that they're magnificent, because without them, we wouldn't have the expertise that we need to find the amazing deals or get those deals secured with a mortgage.
Oh.
So affiliates that
Andrea?
yes.
Oh, we just lost you there for a minute.
Oh, sorry. I did see something saying unstable.
Yeah.
But
yes,
I was just saying, I apologize. We also offer consulting and expert affiliates that we partner with.
Yeah.
Is it still poor?
I know you've just come back. So Annie was just asking a question about an agent.
Yes, she wants to. I work and know agents. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
maybe,
I
maybe we'll circle back with that one. Okay, so those are our services. That's a little bit more about us and what we do. So our goal for having these sessions is to improve home ownership and investment ownership among the BIPOC communities in Canada by 20% in the next 10 years, or 2% a year. So as we talk more about, how we've done it, we hope that you learn. And, the market is crazy, but it's always going to be crazy. So through these sessions, we hope to inspire you to take action, to partner, to do some of the things that we've done to build wealth and to grow and just continue to build ownership, because it just improves our community overall. The key elements to qualify for owning real estate or buying a property. So a lot of these are the questions that, are always standard. And because we're covering this tonight. How much income do I need to qualify? That depends on what you're buying. And it depends on the type of income that you are offering up. How many of you have applied for a mortgage before or gotten a pre-approval for a mortgage?
You can just type in the chat. So let's see, many people have, or they've raised their hands to say they have.
Mhm. Have you thrown everything you got at them in terms of not just employment income, like I have, yes, very good. I have a mortgage now, awesome. And so you know what it takes in terms of you have to share everything. If you want to get approved for the maximum amount, you need to apply and give. So the types of income they'd be looking at is employment, business income, investment income. So any stocks that you have, you could share that income if you're getting any dividends and so on. Andrea, what other types of income would you say they consider?
Rental income.
That's a big one.
Yeah, a big one, because for us as investors and real estate investors, that's absolutely, and it is a principal source of income. But
Yeah,
absolutely, those are great ones to in Canada.
yeah, absolutely. And so it's just to make sure any of the income that you're sharing usually needs to be reported income. And so that's one of the things we just advise, make sure that the income you're trying to get approved or use to be approved should be income that's reported. There are areas where you can go for private money and they make some exceptions. Their rules are a little less stringent than the big five, but generally it's reported income. And so how much capital do you need? That really depends. That really depends. So in terms of capital, if you're a first-time buyer, you would need 5% of your purchase price. If you're buying for a second or third time, you would need 20%. That's here in Canada. And what about this credit score? That varies significantly depending on what you're going for, but generally anything over 620 or 650 is what you'd be looking for. Andrea, anything else here? Oh, did we lose Andrea? Yeah, sounds like it. Okay. Oh, we're on to Andrea's story, so I need Andrea to get back on. Maybe I can share my story first. Andrea, are you back on? In terms of the credit score, as we talk to different mortgage brokers, the credit score matters to a certain extent. A better credit score can give you access to better rates and better, easier approvals. But in general, they look at more the makeup of your credit, how you use your credit, how much outstanding debt shows on your credit. So it's a combination of the score and the actual report that make a difference to your what you're getting for an approval. Let's see. You guys, instead of stalling, what I'm going to do, because we lost Andrea, I'm just going to go on and share my story. And when she comes back, oh, you're back. Excellent. So why don't we just get into your story?
Yes, sorry about that. I took a little break. Yes, so if
challenge tonight.
Week, you got a little bit of my first purchase. And so tonight I'm just going to share my first two because they are significant to what I've accomplished and done thus far. And I think the same would hold true for yourselves as you build. So my first purchase was that top picture there, top left, where I bought like my dream home. It was absolutely beautiful and stunning because it was mine. And I was very excited. I was young. single and a mom as well at that time. And so I felt pretty awesome and accomplished that I was able to do it. It was 100,000 back in Mississauga many years ago. And I even qualified, which I know we're talking about income capital credit. And those days it was very different. To qualify for that $100,000 mortgage back in the early 90s, where I hadn't even started my first career as yet. I had graduated, I had a letter of commitment to start my first teaching position that September, and I was able to secure and buy this property in July. Times are different, very different, because I heard someone say in the chat how, everything counts for your income, including and up to your firstborn child. Well, I agree. You're pretty much giving blood today and all of the above. But back then it was acceptable. They took it. I had a $40,000 income job that I was going to start, and that 40,000 was actually, I could be approved for slightly more than the 100, but I was single, I was on my own, and I didn't want to overextend. So I started with what was comfortable, because I felt I'd be able to live and manage. And I qualified for the 5%, which is what you would qualify if you're a first-time buyer. And so my down payment was reasonable. I'd been saving through university and was able to make that attainable. I also ended up with a very small mortgage, because actually it wasn't small then, it felt huge. But in relation to, current times, and like Kemba said, credit is important. And I don't think it's just the score alone, it's the makeup. And so my score, I've always kept a fairly high score. And when I met my husband for my second purchase, actually I met my husband in my first property. And so we started there together. That was my first purchase, a lovely townhome. Our second purchase together was fueled by the fact that my husband really wanted a home with a garage. I didn't have one, as you can see in that picture of my townhome. I had a parking space, but not a garage. And so we worked hard. He was really committed to having this garage. And I said, well, that's fine, no problem. But I'm a goal setter and planner. So let's set a goal. Our goal was 100,000 that we wanted to save in about 18 months time. And it was 18 months time because we bought a brand new build and we knew it would be built within that timeline. So we didn't get the 100,000 saved, but we got to, I think, about 75,000 saved, which we felt was substantial. And we had this goal sheet. It was like a barometer type thing right above our bed, and right in our bathroom, just to remind us daily of what we were trying to accomplish and how much, how much we had accomplished thus far, as the days and weeks and months passed. So we set the goal. We met the target in terms of we were able to close. We got our first purchase together was 300,000. It's the second picture at the bottom. We still own that home. In fact, I'm sitting in that home today for this presentation. And because I now had my husband's income and mine combined together, we had 90K, and we were able to qualify for that $270,000 mortgage. And Dean, my husband, was a first-time purchaser, so he could utilize his RRSPs. So a lot of that, or some of that 75,000 that we'd saved, we'd put away into the RSPs, because each year we'd get that deduction. And 2 years in a row, we were able to use that to help increase our savings. And, so it helped. So we weren't just saving all of our income, which we'd agreed. I think I told you about the story. We saved all of Dean's income that we could, and we lived off of my income, because I was already, managing this property on my own when I met Dean. And we just thought it was the best strategy to help us get closer to that target. And it really was all about, making a plan, decision making, and even giving up. We had to give up things, like we couldn't do all the restaurant outings or the vacations. We kept the same cars, and maybe, even if we needed anything, we we thought about whether it was necessary, because our goal was to have this home, which I thought was huge. Like I couldn't experience, I hadn't experienced owning, something so much larger with a greater mortgage. And so I didn't want to go into it feeling that we couldn't keep that house and we'd be broke. We went in with a lot of savings, and it all worked out really well for us. That second purchase, we delayed a lot of our things that we wanted for the future, so that once we moved in, we could even do finishes on the home and outside in the yard. We put in a pool. I mean, all cash, because we had saved the money. And so income is huge. Dean did, he's a mechanic, and so he did a lot of side hustle. I saw someone put that in the chat as well. So, and we weren't claiming it as part of our income, but we were absolutely using it for our savings. And so it makes a difference if you do want it as income, that you do have to claim it and report it. And we were able to put 10% down. So we had that 30,000 easily to put towards the down payment. And we had our closing costs. We had costs to do some upgrades and of course buy appliances, because we were getting a brand new build. So there was a lot of associated expenses that we were able to meet easily.
Mm-hmm.
I think that covers it all. I felt for going in with someone who, some of the key things that I found that I loved when I was looking, I wasn't that as young as my first purchase. My second purchase, I felt like when I looked at Dean as a person, I thought, yeah, he came with good credit. I like that. He came, and I'm just saying it because there's probably quite a few women on this. He came with little debt. That helped our purchase. He came with savings. And so all of those, were positive things for us in terms of a new couple starting out. He absolutely didn't want to keep my original purchase because he didn't want to be a landlord at that time. And so that's why we sold it and moved on. But he came with a lot of great assets.
Mm-hmm. That's a good endorsement for your husband.
Well, and not just for my husband, but for all you women out there, it's so important. We did a lot of it collaboratively, but I looked at him as an overall, individual. And I thought that made me feel comfortable going into this, $300,000 purchase.
Yeah, it's a big jump. It's a big jump. But you can see how the property values changed. I guess you went into a bigger property next, and so therefore there was more responsibility, more mortgage. But I think it's amazing what you were able to do with, and I'm seeing everybody else saying that in the chat as well. It takes some sacrifice to do that next step. And
Yes.
so you'll see some similar themes when I share, how I did it. So for the second purchase, and just to recap from last week, that first purchase was about 340,000, because I was sharing my income with, it was actually my cousin that I was partnering with at the time. So our income together made up that 100K. It wasn't that I was making 100K in that time. It was just together we pooled our resources. And so that was the 100K of income. The property we were buying was a triplex. So the income from that property was about 38,000 annually, because we were able to rent the top floor and the basement and then live in the middle. And obviously the down payment we required, like I shared, came from equity from a previous property. And the mortgage was about 272,000. And at the time it was overwhelming and it felt like, are we really doing this? But it was a good thing. And it did take sacrifice and time, because we kind of live simple lives. We didn't do a lot, we were two young women, but we had fairly simple lives at the time. And so maybe 5 years in, we refinanced. And one thing I'll share about that time during that refinance is that it was a challenging time in our partnership, because I don't think I fully understood what refinancing would do for us. And I felt concerned because, I was more concerned with my employment and making sure that I maintained my employment. And my cousin at the time was like, no, let's do it. It makes sense. And so, it took a couple of weeks for me to really sit and mull over it. And I think to myself now, if I had known what I know now, I'd be like, let's go for it. but sometimes we're hesitant, we don't have enough information. And so we hold ourselves back because we're like, oh, am I going to make a mistake by refinancing? Because I was very afraid of excess debt, and I didn't understand the value of mortgage debt versus consumer debt. And so it wasn't something that I was totally clear on. But she went on to purchase another property with some of that equity that we pulled out. I held on to mine for a little bit, and then met my husband, and about a year later we bought a property together. And so that's the second property we bought. I bought, again, pooling resources. The income was a bit higher, but the purchase price was a lot higher because this is now 5 years down the road. And so you can see how, based just on that, from the property values back in, I mean, the houses are not significantly different, like they're maybe in different neighborhoods and so on, but the price difference in a 5-year period is almost double. And so the value of property across Toronto has continued to double and triple over time. But this property that I bought was also another triplex. It had a garage apartment, and it had an apartment in the basement. And actually, this is the property I'm speaking to you from now too, as Andrea mentioned. She's in her second purchase, and I've just lived here and gone on to purchase other real estate over time. Again, this was a 20% down, but all these factors where, the property itself has income. I pooled income with someone else, and in both cases, those are the factors that helped me to qualify to buy both properties. And I didn't have to sell the first, I just had to qualify for the next. And again, a learning that I have during that time was that if I had known what I know now, and I keep saying that because it took me 10 years to move on to become a real estate investor, because I didn't have the knowledge at the time. And I was just sort of eking it out through conversations, through, not having a lot of the information to make me feel comfortable to be brave. And so that took time to learn. Either way, those were the first two purchases, and they were definitely learning opportunities over time. I learned about managing tenants. I learned about managing property, some of the things that could go wrong with houses, and how expensive it is to fix a roof, how expensive it is to change your furnace 2-3 times over time. So these are things that you have to be prepared for as a property owner to be able to come up with those expenses. And that's why having rental income from the property can really help to take care of that. In Andrea's case, herself and her husband were amazing savers. And I feel like what I did differently was that I was looking for income for the properties to help pay for themselves. Again, though, credit was good for both partnerships. The credit was very good because we had to maintain low debts and also just maintain the credit scores. I think at the time my husband actually had like an 800 score or something, so he was really in a good spot.
It's always been a competition with my husband and I about credit score. If I'm above him, he's like, I gotta get a better score than Andrea. So yeah. He's currently doing better than me. So he is thrilled.
Yeah. I have that same competition here, Andrea, where we
it must be a Williams thing.
Yeah, we share our credit scores every once in a while, and he's quite happy that he's above me.
Yes. Dean, it's easy to be above me right now because my score is definitely down somewhere in the 7s rather than in the 8s. And I think he's in the 8s. Yeah. So some of the key learnings, Kemba.
Yeah. So in terms of key learnings, equity from yourself or family members is something where you build up. So in Andrea's case, she had savings and real estate equity from the first purchase. Collaboration is huge. Partnering, whether it be with a friend, a family member. We find that, there's a lot of ways to get into real estate, but we found success by partnering with others. In early days, partnering with others that are in our family and friendship circles, but you can partner otherwise, just have the proper documentation. We'll talk about that later in the series. Shared and written goals. So Andrea, that was huge that you guys had that tracking to say how you're getting towards your goal and thinking of it daily, having it in the bathroom, having it in the bedroom as something that you were both working towards. Instant versus delayed gratification. So, I mean, when you're trying to build wealth, when you're trying to reach those goals of, you know, the next stage or the next step that you want to reach, whether it be, you know, you just want to get a better apartment, that is actually a step towards, you know, building wealth, because say you're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, or you have an ability to share a space. If you were to share and rent to a roommate, you're building wealth that way. It doesn't mean that you're owning the property you're in, but you're increasing your income that way. So there's so many ways to look at it, depending on where you're starting and where you want to get to. You just build on those, but you have to maybe think about instant versus delayed gratification. Trust and communication. So when you think of building wealth in real estate and you're partnering with others, you have to have trust and you have to communicate. One of the challenges, you know, I mentioned in my, when I first was refinancing, I wasn't sure of things. I was, you know, uncertain about going in to refinance and get another debt. You know, when we're paying down this mortgage, to go in and add more debt to it, I was like, whew, why, you know, and I had to really get comfortable with that idea. And it took a long time, myself and my cousin actually communicating for a while to be able to figure that out. And lastly, although we didn't talk about this in the stories much, one of the things we really think is important is an exit strategy. When you go into investing in real estate, what is your exit strategy? How do you plan to leave this? Is this something that you're doing for a long term? Is it a short term? And what is that exit strategy? And being on the same page with any partners that you're investing with is hugely important, because it leads to discord if the partners are not on the same page. So that's something to remember. As we talk about collaboration and partnership, it's important to make sure that you agree how this is going to end as well, so that it's not a difficult situation at the end. And usually you have to have agreements to state how that is, because something you're agreeing to 5 years ago, you may not remember it in 5 years' time. Even in 6 months' time, you may not remember it. So it's important to write things down and make sure that you have a clear exit strategy. Andrea, did I miss anything?
No, no, we're good.
I see lots of chat items here. Do we want to just see any questions?
I've been answering some of them. Just I think it's best if we probably leave some of them until after. But yes,
Okay.
I did answer quite a few.
Okay, so we addressed this a little bit in the last session, but you know, it's hugely important that you start to build the knowledge you need to be able to invest in real estate. Knowledge of markets, knowledge of properties themselves, knowledge of how the income will help you, the types of income that you need to get, assessing, you know, your tenants, that type of knowledge as you grow and you build in real estate. The network, next week's session is a little bit about the network, where we talk about you know, leveraging the people in your network and building a community around yourself that will help you with your real estate investing analysis, making sure that you're making good decisions based on the right figures and facts about property investing, and coaching. So like I said, it took me 10 years to sort of get comfortable with being an investor and taking calculated risks, not what do you call it? Not reckless or uninformed risk. But once I got to a point where I was willing to go to the next step, I started getting coaching and started getting information, and that really helped me to move to the next step, which is keys. So we'd like you to have the knack for real estate investing as well.
And so having the knack really is necessary. And I think Kemba did a great job, you know, explaining how important each area of the knack, which is, it's really just an easier way for us to remember the key things that are necessary to help us be successful. And so once we started figuring it out, because like Kemba said, it took her about 10 years, and myself included. I don't think, I mean, if we had known some of what we knew 8 to 10 years earlier, things would have been different. But once we found out what it was that we needed and who, and coaching and education, once we started getting all of that, it was much easier to allow our portfolios to multiply. And so as a team, we've built assets in real estate across the country. So across Ontario, across Canada, we're now, buying into the US. And this is just showing a few of our holdings. And so we've also made sure that we've diversified the type of investments that we bought from. So we have from condos to duplexes to apartment buildings, resale and new construction. And it's allowed, I think it's better when you're in real estate, which is definitely risky, to diversify as much as possible. And you've heard that many times over, probably, with just investing in general. Maybe the next slide we can just share. So one of the best ways to build that generational wealth, because as you can see, it could easily first start with your first property, because I think without that first property, it may be more challenging, and you may not have met some of your goals immediate, right? Generational wealth and legacy is about the next the people that come later and the people after you. But this is one of the best tools, is the apartment buildings or the multi-family commercial, type residential properties that you can have. To us, this is one of the best ways. We own this apartment building out in London. When we bought it 3 years ago this spring, we bought it. Actually, I'll leave some of that for you, Kemba. We bought it and we have put in about $235,000 in capital. That money has now grown substantially, because even in the first 2 years of ownership, we realized that the property has gone from what we paid, $800,000 to 1.3 million, and it's out in London. So the rate at which it has moved is slightly slower than the GTA, but it's still done really well. And so the value to us as owners and anyone building generational wealth in a multi-unit is huge. You can't stop it. It just goes. We're going to see the improved value in the total value of the property, but also the rental income has continued to increase over time. So Kemba, maybe the next slide where we can show them how that's happened. So
Yeah, so
this.
I mean,
Kemba,
when
do
we
you want
look
to
at a
cover the
property
numbers
like
on
this,
this?
it's looking at to make the decision. That's the analysis part that we talk about, where you want to make sure that you're getting into something that will either pay for itself or break even. It really depends on how much capital you have, but as you know, as we're not necessarily having a lot of income of our own, if we don't have a lot of income of our own, we need the property to pay for itself. And even if you do have a lot of income of your own, you may want to use that for other things. And so when you invest in real estate, you look to make sure you're doing a good analysis of the property you're putting your money into. In this case, you look to see if there's cash flow. You look to see if there's going to be appreciation over time, or if there's anything you can do to improve the property. So in this case, this property was mostly done. I think 5 of the 6 units were already renovated. And so there's 1 unit that left that we can improve the value and maybe even double the rents when that time comes. So there's these units are all 3 bedrooms except one. One of them is a 1-bedroom. All the units are 3 bedrooms, so they'll always appeal to families. It's in a location that's close to a bus route. You need to look at certain factors like that to make sure that your investment is going to hold its value over time. It's in London, Ontario, as Andrea mentioned, and so it's really in a place where it will grow over time. So these are things that we talk to you about and teach you about in terms of, and when you invest in commercial real estate, that's also a different type of approval that you'd need. And so if that's something you wanted more information about, we could definitely share how that looks. And it looks at your income, less so than in residential real estate. When you're buying a home or an investment property, the commercial real estate really looks at what can that property do and can it cover itself. Um, so, Andrew, do you want to share a little bit about that wealth building?
Yeah, so I noticed there's this little pencil mark, like, am I marking up my screen or something? I see this marker. So I see some really great questions in the chat that we will answer some of them. Like, one of them specifically asked about, with multiple properties, is it good to incorporate? Absolutely, incorporation will be something that you can assess, and that's why we have experts, right? We will consult with our accountant and our lawyer to make sure that we're doing the right things. And that multi-unit that we just showed you, it's definitely incorporated. And so you can incorporate at any time along your journey, especially once you start having several properties. It may just make sense. There's a lot of benefits to a corporation, and we cover a lot of that in our wealth building series, which is one of the things that we've done so much ourselves, and we know the experience and the knowledge that we have can be very beneficial to each person that is looking to build wealth through real estate. And so we're building a series right now starting in March called our wealth building series, and it will be hosted on Wednesday night between 7:30 and 8:30, where we will go from the basics, because some of us definitely need to, roll back a little bit and say, hey, what does my finances look like? Let's, look at my numbers, expenses, income, debt. And we move all the way through to obviously helping you see a lot of the questions in the chat, understanding where you can, for example, have access to capital through government funded programs to help with down payments, or to having, and utilizing different tax strategies to help you save. Because I know when I said 75,000, I saw it in the chat. Someone's like, well, how did you do that? We literally saved one person's income and lived on the other. So and we found everything that we could to put aside that money. And so we're going to, help you understand different ways that you can be saving and putting aside as well. But we're going to examine properties. Someone wanted to know in the chat, how, what do I do if my income is not enough, but my credit's great? What can I do? Well, you can buy properties that generate income as well and cash flow, because that will absolutely, as we said already, help in the qualification. So we show you how to do that. And it's not easy to do that right here in the GTA. So you're going to likely have to move. And like last week, we talked about mindset, make some changes, because if you're thinking you can do it here in the GTA, it's not likely. Unless you've got lots of money to put into those properties, you're not going to be able to generate income. And likewise, the banks and the institutions that you go to may not want to fund those deals, because they're thinking, how are you going to do it? You're only making X, and the property itself can't cover the cost, right? So like Kemba said, we do a lot of analysis, and we teach you and we help you do that so that you can buy properties that will do what you want it to do, which is generate wealth for you and income, and generational wealth that you can pass on. So we also focus on different places that you can buy, because there are many other locations that have cash flowing properties. And so, but three things before I move on that I find that they're top mistakes, and I think that we all probably make them at different times. Even with myself having a lot of experience in real estate, there's times where I go to venture off to do, something like crypto or some other type of investment. And because I'm not as knowledgeable about it, I won't always succeed. And so I think one of the things that you have to look at is, you don't want to make mistakes because of lack of education. So you want to make sure that you get educated. You also want to have a plan, right? Because I've talked about that through my story. And you also want to take action. So part of what our legacy, our wealth building series will teach you is how to do that. So Kemba, let's maybe show how, we break down that cost, because yes, there's an associated cost with this series, but it's going to be worth it. If you want to own a $500,000, $1 million, portfolio and greater, because I mean, if you own one of those in the GTA, it's probably already $1 million, right? If you own a property here, it's worth the investment of the $399. So we're going to offer to you, we have a course that we built that has, we've been teaching for the last year and has done really well, because we've had individuals who've participated in that and successfully gone out and bought, and not just bought in Ontario where we are familiar, but they've left Ontario and bought in other provinces, which is fantastic, because as I said, there are locations that you can buy that can bring cash flow. And that's what has happened for that. Those families that chose to push beyond Ontario. We'll also, so that's available for you to participate in. There's our credit and repairs, so that yes, some of us have fantastic credit, while others may be working to improve and repair their credit. But if you have good credit and you're not using it, then we help you understand how you can utilize that, as well as improving one credit that is maybe been tarnished or has had a bit of a beating due to whatever circumstances. We also have a budgeting workshop. We do all of this in a group setting, so that we will bring our expert knowledge and experience to you to ensure that you can successfully make your first purchase, and so on. We also have a couple of bonuses. We offer what we call our generational wealth strategies booklet, so that it's always nice to have something that you can look back at, you can maybe take notes in and utilize, because it's not enough to listen. We always have to sort of have something documented or noted, and so we provide that. We also offer one live one-on-one session with either Kemba or myself, to make sure that you're on track, like that what you have set out and what we've done together in our sessions, that you're going to be able to carry it out. And of course, we have access to all our expert team, that is the mortgage brokers, the realtors, the accountants, lawyers, so that you don't have to search for those individuals. They're all readily available. Obviously, if you have your own, that's great. But if you need some of that expertise, we have that as well. All for our low cost of $399. And our money back guarantee, so that if you feel like, what, Andrea, what if it doesn't work for me? Kemba, did you want to cover it, or shall I?
Yeah, so we guarantee that you will be able to complete our credit repair program, our budgeting workshops. You start out, if you do any of those things, you join our wealth building series or Secrets to Success course. We'll provide the extra coaching and support that you need to get on track. Or if you have an issue, we will give you 100% refund if we can't help you get on track. So it's a 90-day guarantee. So we want you to take action, at least getting on track and taking some of the steps you need to move forward. And we help you set those goals, and we help you move towards that. Just as a reminder from last week, in terms of the roadmap, making sure you establish that plan, make sure you're looking at the risk and getting tax efficient from the beginning. Somebody asked about starting as a corporation. There's some pluses and minuses to doing that, and we can talk about that. Grow your network. So who's going to help you get that investment? It really does make a difference who you work with. Do your research, invest, don't speculate, and invest in yourself, and make sure you have those pillars of insurance and wills and estates working with you, because that generational wealth you build in this lifetime doesn't really get very far if you don't have those documents to make sure that you have a plan for it after you pass away. This is our, we talk about why credit is important, and we'd like to invite you all later in the year when we have our Credit is Your Superpower event. We'd like you to join that one for sure. It helps you with loan approvals, interest rates and loan products, employment options. Sometimes employers look at your credit and it impacts your future rental and purchasing power. So definitely that program is helpful. Someone's writing on our slides, and I feel like we have some kids in the room. I feel like maybe my son's in the
That's
room
what I was
writing.
saying. I don't know if it's me or someone else, but I think it's someone else.
Yeah. If you would like to, we offer you to join our real estate wealth building group on Facebook, just so we can continue the conversation. If you have questions, that's an easy place to put them, and we provide answers. Help if you are looking for help on a topic. If you're looking to make an investment, that's a good place to share some of your information and have the group help you answer those questions.
Yeah, and it's, we see quite a few questions here. For the ones that we'll get to answer, we'll do tonight, and we'll always continue the conversations there. So the Facebook link, did we give it just now? Yeah, Marcia, thank you. So it's there for any of you that is looking to continue building your knowledge. And we also, in that Facebook group, will often share opportunities that we have that come up. We shared a fantastic one this week, and I think we have some of our coaching clients that are very interested in that offer, a multi-unit out in Kingston. So, when you join the group, take a look at some of those opportunities that come up. You can also make connections with people that might be great for you to partner with, or even just, have that support system, which is absolutely what we need for women and people of color and Caribbean folks. It's just, we've always been good at social and getting along and sort of partying together and enjoying those great times, but we also have to get better at doing it when it comes to finances and building wealth and ownership.
So tonight's giveaways, we have a couple minutes left. We would like to, Andrea, do we have some questions for the giveaways tonight?
I do. I even I wrote down. So I thought, let's see who was listening. So what was the purchase price of my second property? Type it in the chat with my now husband. And I see it's there. I think it was Nishka. She was first. Nisha, was it? Nisha. Yes, it was Nisha that typed it in fast and furious. So if Marcia, you can document that. Nisha was our first to respond. And that's Nisha is joining us in our wealth building series, right, Kemba? That's the first one that you gave away?
Yes, Nisha's the first. Well, Nisha's the second. So we have someone from last week who won.
And our free coaching sessions. So our second, I think that for the last one, we should have said it earlier in the talk and we didn't, but we can still, let me go to the last one first, just so that you can get a chance to participate. The last one was a free Amazon gift card that we were saying to you, if you are here tonight, if you could snap a picture of yourself in the our screen showing that you were in attendance and post it on your Instagram or Facebook page and tag us, we would add you to the draw to earn the opportunity to win that gift card. So don't forget to do that. A tag is simply if you're tagging us, it's our wealth building group or our Instagram, Kean, KEAN .on, so that's keen on you, but it's a dot in between each word, keen.on.you, and you as in spelt out IOU, so that we can reward someone with that gift card. And the last question for our coaching session is, what is the minimum amount typically used for first-time buyers qualification? What's the minimum amount of the deposit that you would need to have or down payment on a property? I don't know, I'm not in the chat. Let me go.
Tonica.
Okay, Tonica got that first. Awesome. And thank you, Marcia, for putting in the chat. Our Instagram handle makes it easier. And so that's, I mean, for the giveaways, you all were giving a lot of great stuff tonight. So for those of you that have attended and didn't get one of those giveaways that we just had above, we have a giveaway for everyone else. We have a free wealth building booklet that we will share. You can see the image of it there. And you each get a free copy of our Credit Repair Simplified book that Kemba and I have put together as well. So you have two amazing tools to take away tonight, as well as everything else that we've given you. So Kemba, maybe we can go to the chat. For anyone that wants to leave, you may. If you want to stay on for a few more minutes, we can cover some of the questions in the chat and any other sort of, did we have a wrap up still, or I think we have a few minutes?
Yeah, so we can do any Q&A if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, some people had asked, I'm just going back here just to see. Like someone said they've never applied for mortgages yet. So I hope you got some of what is really key to have tonight, the income capital credit pieces. And absolutely, if you are even part of our Facebook group, we can help you understand that process and even bring you to partners that can help you, get that together. How did I save? So I did answer in the chat how I saved the 75,000 in 18 months. It was a full income, pretty much everything that we could take from after deductions, right? Put in, and then we also did RSP contributions. Those RSP contributions also gave us a tax return each of the 2 years that we had to save. And so we put that into the pool as well, and any side hustle money. So you can do it. Maybe, maybe you don't want to set it as high as 75,000, but I don't know that today you can go without in the GTA with less than 75,000.
Yes. So I see we have I think yeah, you can't do much without a pretty sizable 5% of $1 million is still a lot, and you can't even do 5% of $1 million because it's only up to 500,000.
Up to 5, yeah.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get it.
Yeah,
I know you don't want to do 5% of a mill. It's too big a mortgage. It's
too big of a mortgage. There's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say good night to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. If we have any other questions, we can stay on for another 10 minutes, but just so that as people drop off, I just wanted to say good night to everyone and thanks again.
Yeah, and feel like we're excited to have you join. Our course is our series is filling up, and it does have limited spaces, but we have all of this month still. So please join us as soon as you can if you've decided that's something you can do. For those of you that are staying on, absolutely ask some questions in the chat, but we will also share some of your responses to questions that you asked tonight in our Facebook group. So someone said, does it make sense to refinance or use equity to buy a property every year? And absolutely, if you can. I don't know if you can do it on the same property every year because it depends. I mean, in the current market of the GTA, it is appreciating almost every month, so that you could potentially have room each year. But if there's associated costs and fees, you may not want to incur that annually. So ideally, there's ways around that. You can refinance and get a home equity line of credit that increases as your equity increase. So there are different types of lending products that you can get so that you don't have to, Laquan, do that every year. You can actually buy, and I try to find lenders or work with lenders that have those types of products. In the event that you're going to need it as an investor, like myself and Kemba, you want to ideally get a product that is flexible, right? And even a mortgage that's flexible, so that maybe a variable rate mortgage rather than a fixed mortgage gives you a lot more room, so that even if you do need to refinance, you don't have to pay any hefty fees.
Paula, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, was asking, what about loaning out money for mortgages? I would say that that is more, I think, advanced in terms of maybe an option for investing, but it is a good option. Sometimes you become the lender. I think that's what you're asking about, being the lender. But
Yeah, or
you
sorry, yeah, for being like, yeah, being a lender, loaning out money for people who need mortgages.
Yeah, I think that's more of a high risk. It's high risk. You have to really know what you're doing, but it is possible to do. And I think you have to have the capital. So, you have to have, if you giving somebody a $500,000 mortgage, you have to have that 500,000 to give them. So it is something that you can do, but it is a different strategy for sure.
And just use lawyers and the necessary documentation to protect yourself. But if you're speaking of also mortgages that you invest in, those are available as well. So you can invest in real estate through mortgages, and that's absolutely lending out your money to earn a return with more reputable companies and companies that do that on a regular basis.
Yeah. So Tabitha just asked, if we bought our first condo summer of 2021, how long should we wait until we refinance to invest into an investment property? Tabitha, I think depending on the market you're in, if you're in Toronto, the 1 year, the prices may go up significantly, but it really depends. I would keep in touch with your real estate agent, or if you want to chat with us, we take a look at what the market is every year. Sometimes I just ask, what's going on in the market. I'm always in the market, so I kind of know, but it's still good to ask, the professionals to say what they're seeing, to say, what is this worth at this time? And then if you feel like the value has gone up significantly and there's room to get some capital out that will be sufficient for you, that's a time to refinance. But I think you have to really look at where the market is, how much your property has grown over time. 2021 seems early, but if it's already gotten lots of equity in it, then you might be in a position to do that. It just really depends on the situation.
And it depends on when you bought it. Was it a holding that you had prior to 2021? Because if you bought it several years prior and it was a new build, I've done that with condos, and it would have equity even at closing. And so, yes, we would have to speak to your situation specifically, but it is possible to refinance. Plus, the market has changed a lot. Kemba, I think I shared with you this morning how the appraisal of a property that I was looking at recently has gone, up in like about almost 200,000 since the last appraisal, which was only months ago. So it's absolutely possible, but we don't know your situation specifically.
Yeah. The next question is HELOC versus refinance, what's better? So I think what you're asking, I don't think the two, so what you're asking is, should you take the money out as a mortgage, or should you get it as a HELOC? And it really
as a home
depends
equity
on,
line of credit.
yes, as a home equity line of credit. What are you trying to do? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? Sometimes, maybe refinancing might give you a lower interest rate, and so therefore the capital is cheaper. And if you have something else to put it into right away, it might make sense. But we always like the flexibility. I personally prefer the flexibility of a HELOC, so you can, take it out, pay it down, use it again, that sort of thing. I think that the HELOC is just more flexible, and I prefer that. But it really depends on what you're trying to do.
And you can do both. You can do both, because I've done both, and they both work. They're both good strategies, if you're an investor and you're doing this as part of building wealth in business for yourself, they're both tax deductible strategies.
Yeah. Is there a cutoff for a HELOC? Usually lenders won't give you more than 80% loan to value. So if your property is now, you have 50% of a mortgage on it, so it's valued at twice as what mortgage you have, you can get another 30% in HELOC, and that's usually the standard. There are some who go more than 80%, but
and it's still based on income too, Kemba.
It is still based on income.
Your ability to pay back will, because if you have access to 80% and you don't have the income, the lender is not going to offer it all.
HELOCs don't usually have a time frame. I don't know what the 15 years is, but if your mortgage has 15 years left on it, potentially it's tied together, but generally they don't have an end date in mind. Okay.
And well, I just saw someone asked earlier, what if you aren't able to partner with someone to boost your income to qualify for a higher mortgage? What are your thoughts? You know, Kemba, do you have, because I think I gave a bit of a response here, because I do think that partnering is one of the ways to help your boost your income.
If you can't partner, there, I think you would have to look at what options do you have in your own, finances to boost your income. So for example, the job you're doing right now, where can you earn more if you can go for a better job, if you can maybe start a side hustle and a profitable one, not one that's just a hobby that, doesn't make any money. You would have to look at, if you're not able to partner with anyone else, what can you do differently in terms of your own income? Another thing too, if you're not able to partner, would be looking at how you spend. So reduce your expenses in some way so that you can have maybe more capital saved towards your purchase. So
you can also buy a property with income so that the income from the property can help you qualify as well. So that if you're buying a unit that allows you to have some portion of that property rentable, you can ask for that to be considered in the approval and qualification. You also can buy in areas where the property prices are less. So then your income is, it can match that purchasing price range, right? So you don't have to buy here where they're $500,000 minimum at a condo or $750,000 to $1 million for a townhome. You can buy in areas where one of my lives this week with Ashley out in Cornwall, she left the GTA and moved to Cornwall because it was affordable for her, and for her to start building generational wealth, it seemed like the best thing to do. Now you don't have to do that. You can also just buy the property there, rent it out, and stay right here. And if your work and school for children and family life and so forth is here. So there are different strategies, unconventional ways to do it. But if you have cash flow and income from that property, it will absolutely help you in the qualifying. Someone else had asked about, I forget it now. Does it make sense? No, I lost the thought. I hope we didn't miss anyone. Thanks, Andrea. Andrea says the coaching keeps you on track. Yes, we do keep you accountable. We keep you accountable because if you've told us, if you come to us and you're working with us, whether it be our wealth building series or you're coaching with us one-on-one, that's what really helped Kemba and I progress substantially in the last few years, is that we had coaches, and those coaches made sure that we did what we said that we wanted and helped direct us in ways that we didn't know existed or was possible. And so accountability is huge.
So we have, I think we'll take one last question, if that's okay, Andrea. I think that we have
for the $399, it's just you pay it one time. It's not for months. It's the program will last about 6 weeks. And so we will it's a one-time cost. Someone asked how many months is it for? It's
okay, yes, it is.
It is one cost for the program, and we will cover it over a 6-week period.
Yes. In terms of have two different people looking to invest with us on property, could you expand on other risks or questions we should be asking? There's lots of things that you should consider. I think just to mention one of the main things, and I kind of covered that a little bit, is just making sure you guys have the same goals for investing so that your timeframes match up. And your exit strategies are agreed to. Nobody's expecting one thing and the group wants to do something else. Stuff like that. I mean, there are other things you should consider in terms of knowing your partners. And so you just need to know who they are. So you make sure you're taking those risks into consideration, who they are, to make sure that they will be credible and trustworthy.
Someone asked, how do I access the properties in your portfolio? I'm not quite sure what that means. Are you wanting to be an investor with us? We do have some, opportunities that way. I thought that was cute. I wasn't sure. How do I access them? But we didn't show all the portfolio, but we did show quite a few. And if you want to stay in any of our short-term rentals, they are available. There are some here in Ontario and out in Alberta. But I am not quite sure what that means. Check us out, reach out to us, DM us, message us.
Yeah.
We'll help. That was Galaxy. It's not a name, so I can't speak to who.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, guys, I appreciate you coming on. We're so happy that you came and you learned, and we hope that you can take away something from this session that is valuable to you and that you can go from there. So have yourselves a wonderful night, and make sure you register for number 3, which is coming up next week, and number 4. 3 and 4, just do it right now.
Yeah, just book both. And they will be very absolutely, because we're going into more information on locations and networking, and so you absolutely want all of that to fill out this, mindset and income capital. Like, how do I put it to work? We're going to cover that as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yep.